They told you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to wait your turn, to stop dreaming so big because people like you don't become people like that. And slowly, without even realizing it, you began shrinking your vision to fit the comfort of smaller minds. You started negotiating with your own potential. You looked at your life through the eyes of fear instead of destiny. You measured yourself by your current bank account, your current circumstances, your current failures, your current environment. You stared at temporary conditions and called them permanent truth. You stood in the middle of a storm and convinced yourself the sky would never clear. But listen carefully. Every empire that has ever existed began as a thought invisible to the world. Every skyscraper was once a sketch. Every revolution was once a whisper. Every champion was once unknown. And every extraordinary life was first created in the mind before it ever appeared in reality. That is the difference between those who remain trapped in limitation and those who rise into greatness. The world calls it confidence. The world calls it ambition. But deeper than that, it is vision. A vision so powerful that reality is eventually forced to bow before it. Because the truth is this: you do not become what you want. You become what you believe you already are. Most people wait for evidence before they move. They wait for permission before they act. They wait for certainty before they commit. And because they wait for the world to validate them first, they stay exactly where they are. But the powerful understand something the average mind cannot comprehend. They understand that creation happens twice. First in the mind, then in reality. The athlete sees victory before the game begins. The entrepreneur sees the empire before the business exists. The artist sees the masterpiece before the first brush stroke touches the canvas. The visionary walks into an empty room and already sees the future standing there. And if you cannot see it internally, you will never hold it externally. This is why so many people work hard and still remain stuck. Because effort without identity is exhaustion. Action without belief becomes frustration. Motion without vision leads nowhere. You cannot build a kingdom while thinking like a prisoner. You cannot create abundance while emotionally attached to scarcity. You cannot attract victory while secretly identifying with defeat. Your outer world is always echoing your inner world. The mind is a magnet. The spirit is a transmitter. Your dominant thoughts are shaping the architecture of your future, whether you realize it or not. Every day you are either rehearsing greatness or rehearsing limitation. And most people are hypnotized by limitation. They wake up already defeated. They speak failure before the day even begins. They announce their weakness with their language. I'm tired. I'm unlucky. Nothing works for me. I'll probably fail. People like me never succeed. They speak these words casually, not understanding that repeated thoughts become identity, and identity becomes destiny. The human mind does not stay neutral. It obeys the images impressed upon it. If you feed it fear long enough, it produces hesitation. If you feed it doubt long enough, it produces paralysis. If you feed it vision long enough, it produces power. That is why your environment matters. That is why your conversations matter. That is why the books you read matter. That is why the music you consume matters. That is why the people around you matter. Everything is programming you. Every sound, every opinion, every influence, every repeated emotion. And if you are not consciously directing your mind, the world will direct it for you. Most people are carrying invisible chains they never chose. Chains inherited from broken households. Chains forged by childhood humiliation. Chains strengthened by rejection, betrayal, criticism, failure, and fear. At some point, they stopped seeing possibility and started worshiping survival. They became addicted to safety, but safety has destroyed more dreams than failure ever will. Because failure at least means you moved. Failure means you tried. Failure means you entered the arena. But safety Safety seduces you into mediocrity while convincing you that you are being wise. Safety whispers, stay where you are. Safety says, don't risk embarrassment. Safety says, wait until everything is perfect. Meanwhile, years disappear. Potential rots. Dreams decay silently inside people who were born for more. And one day they wake up with the unbearable realization that they spent their entire lives preparing to live instead of actually living. Do not let that become your story. There is something inside you that already knows you were meant for greater things. That restless feeling you carry is not anxiety. It is unused power. It is the soul rejecting confinement. It is your future calling you forward while your fear begs you to remain the same. And make no mistake, transformation requires war. Not war with the world. War with yourself. Because there are two versions of you fighting for control every single day. One version seeks comfort. The other seeks greatness. One version wants distraction. The other wants discipline. One version wants excuses. The other wants results. One version says maybe tomorrow. The other says now. And the version you feed becomes the version that rules your life. This is why vision alone is not enough. You must embody the vision. You must think from it, move from it, speak from it, decide from it, breathe from it. You must act like it is already yours before the world confirms anything. Not because you are delusional, because you understand a law most people never discover. Reality responds to identity. When a person truly sees themselves differently, their behavior changes automatically. A man who identifies as weak avoids challenge. A man who identifies as powerful seeks growth. A woman who identifies as unworthy accepts disrespect. A woman who identifies as valuable raises her standards. Identity shapes decisions, decisions shape habits, habits shape destiny. And the greatest prison on earth is living with an identity that no longer matches your potential. You were not born to play small. You were not created to spend your life apologizing for your ambition. You were not designed to dilute your gifts so insecure people feel comfortable around you. There is a force within you capable of changing everything, but power unused becomes pain. That is why so many people feel empty even while surviving. Because survival is not fulfillment. Existing is not living. Waking up, paying bills, scrolling endlessly, complaining daily, and repeating the same emotional cycles is not life. That is unconscious repetition. Real living begins the moment a person decides to rise beyond who they have been. The moment they stop asking, what if I fail, and start asking, what happens if I never try? The moment they stop worshiping comfort and start pursuing purpose. Purpose changes everything. Purpose gives suffering meaning. Without purpose, obstacles feel unbearable. With purpose, obstacles become training. Without purpose, mornings feel heavy. With purpose, mornings become missions. Without purpose, discipline feels painful. With purpose, discipline becomes liberation. And here is what many people misunderstand. Purpose is not something you find sitting still. Purpose reveals itself through movement. Clarity comes from action. Not endless thinking, not endless planning, not endless doubting. Action creates clarity. The road reveals itself to the person willing to move before they see the entire map. But average minds cannot understand this because average minds are addicted to certainty. They want guarantees before commitment. Yet the universe rewards courage first. Every major breakthrough in your life will require a leap before evidence appears. Faith is not believing after you see. Faith is acting before you see. That is why the most successful people in history often looked irrational in the beginning. People mocked them, doubted them, questioned them, laughed at their vision, Because ordinary minds judge based on current reality, while visionaries judge based on future possibility. And if you study greatness long enough, you will notice something extraordinary. Great people carry themselves differently before success ever arrives. They walk differently, speak differently, think differently, focus differently, not because they already possess the reward, because internally they already became the person capable of receiving it. That is the secret. Success is not something you chase. It is something you align with. The world is filled with people trying to acquire externally what they have never developed internally. They want wealth without discipline, influence without integrity, results without sacrifice, victory without transformation. But life does not work that way. The outer world mirrors the inner man. If chaos rules your mind, chaos will rule your life. If weakness dominates your habits, weakness will dominate your outcomes. If fear controls your decisions, fear will shape your future. You must become internally what you desire externally. That is why mornings matter. The way you begin your day determines the direction of your mind. Most people wake up reactive, immediately consuming noise, immediately absorbing stress, immediately surrendering their focus to the world. Before their feet even touch the floor, their energy already belongs to distraction. And then they wonder why they feel powerless. Your attention is your greatest currency. Where focus goes, energy flows. If your attention is constantly scattered, your power becomes diluted. Greatness requires concentration, a burning obsession, a refusal to allow trivial things to steal your destiny. The world is engineered to distract you because distracted people are easier to control. A distracted mind cannot build, cannot create, cannot lead, cannot transform. That is why silence is powerful. In silence, you hear yourself again. In silence, clarity returns. In silence, you remember what truly matters. The strongest people are not always the loudest. Sometimes they are the ones quietly building themselves while the world wastes energy seeking approval. Approval is a dangerous addiction. The moment your self-worth depends on applause, you surrender your power to public opinion, and public opinion changes constantly. People cheer you one day and criticize you the next. If you live for validation, you will die by rejection. You must build a foundation deeper than opinions, a foundation rooted in vision. Because when your vision becomes clear enough, criticism loses its power. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's comfort zone. You stop asking small-minded people for permission to become who you were born to be. And this requires courage, not surface-level courage, soul-level courage. The courage to continue when nobody understands you. The courage to persist when results are invisible. The courage to trust your vision during seasons when reality looks unchanged. Because every great transformation has a period where nothing appears to be happening. The seed underground looks lifeless before it breaks through the soil. But unseen growth is still growth. Do not underestimate invisible progress. Every disciplined day matters. Every silent sacrifice matters. Every moment you choose growth over comfort matters. The world only notices the breakthrough, but they do not see the years of internal construction that created it. They see the victory speech. They do not see the lonely nights. They see the confidence. They do not see the self-doubt conquered in silence. They see the success. They do not see the habits repeated relentlessly when nobody was watching. Greatness is never an accident. It is manufactured daily through decisions, small decisions, repeated consistently. Your life is shaped less by dramatic moments and more by repeated behaviors. A single workout will not transform a body. A single book will not transform a mind. A single opportunity will not transform a future, but repeated discipline, repeated focus, repeated intentional action, that changes everything. The problem is that most people underestimate consistency because consistency is not glamorous. It is repetitive. It is quiet. It is often boring, but boring actions repeated long enough create extraordinary results. The mountain is conquered one step at a time. The empire is built one brick at a time. The transformation is earned one decision at a time. And the people who eventually dominate life are usually the people who mastered themselves in private. Self-mastery. That is the real battle. Not conquering others. Conquering yourself, conquering your impulses, conquering your excuses, conquering your laziness, conquering your emotional chaos. Because if you cannot command yourself, you will forever be commanded by circumstances. Discipline is freedom. People think discipline restricts them, but the opposite is true. Discipline frees you from regret. Discipline frees you from weakness. Discipline frees you from living beneath your potential. The undisciplined person becomes a slave to moods. If they feel motivated, they act. If they do not feel motivated, they stop. But motivation is unreliable. Winners do not build their lives on emotion. They build their lives on standards. They do what must be done regardless of mood. And that is why they eventually separate themselves from the crowd. Because most people surrender the moment things become uncomfortable. But discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is the gateway. Every new level of life requires a new level of you. And the old version of you will resist transformation because familiarity feels safe. Your mind clings to patterns even when those patterns create suffering. That is why change initially feels unnatural. But understand this clearly. Your future requires behaviors your current identity finds uncomfortable. You cannot become powerful while remaining attached to comfort. You cannot create greatness while avoiding pressure. Pressure creates diamonds. Resistance creates strength. Adversity reveals character. And some of the greatest blessings in your life will arrive disguised as hardship, because hardship forces growth. Pain forces reflection. Loss forces evolution. The moments that nearly break you often become the moments that redefine you. And one day you will look back at seasons you once cursed and realize they were preparing you for the life you prayed for. Because transformation is never comfortable while it is happening. The caterpillar does not understand the cocoon. The seed does not understand the darkness beneath the soil. And you will not always understand the seasons your life moves through while you are inside them. There will be moments when the path feels lonely. Moments when progress feels invisible. Moments when you question whether your effort is even making a difference. But the greatest mistake you can make during those seasons is abandoning the process simply because the reward has not arrived yet. Most people quit during incubation. They stop one step before momentum shifts. They surrender one moment before the breakthrough. And then they spend the rest of their lives wondering what might have happened if they had simply endured a little longer. Endurance is rare. That is why greatness is rare. Anybody can feel inspired for a day. Anybody can dream when emotions are high. Anybody can speak confidently when circumstances are favorable. But can you remain committed when the excitement fades? Can you continue building when nobody applauds? Can you maintain faith when reality appears unchanged? That is where destinies are decided, not during moments of comfort. During moments of resistance, when your vision is tested by delay, when your discipline is tested by temptation, when your belief is tested by disappointment, that is the furnace where powerful people are forged. And the truth is, life will test every declaration you make. The moment you say you want greatness, life will ask, how badly? The moment you say you want freedom, life will ask what you are willing to sacrifice for it. The moment you say you want purpose, life will expose every distraction draining your energy. because desire alone is meaningless. Everybody wants the reward. Few are willing to become the person required to receive it. People love the image of success. They love the spotlight, the applause, the victory, but they do not love the isolation that often comes before it. They do not love the discipline. They do not love the repetition. They do not love the uncertainty. Yet those hidden moments are where power is born. A sword is forged through fire. A mind is forged through pressure. A soul is forged through adversity. You cannot pray for strength while avoiding challenge. You cannot ask for greatness while resisting growth. Every level of your future demands expansion. And expansion always feels uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is not evidence that you are failing. It is evidence that you are changing. When a person begins transforming, their old life starts feeling too small for them. Old conversations lose their appeal. Old habits begin to feel heavy. Old environments begin to feel restrictive. Because growth changes your appetite. You stop craving distraction and start craving alignment. You stop chasing entertainment every moment and start protecting your energy. You stop tolerating people who drain your spirit. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. And suddenly your standards rise. Not because you think you are better than others, because you finally understand your value. There is a difference between arrogance and self-respect. Arrogance needs to announce itself. Self-respect moves quietly. Self-respect is refusing to betray your future for temporary comfort. Self-respect is keeping promises to yourself. Self-respect is understanding that your time, focus, energy, and mind are sacred resources. Most people waste their lives because they spend their attention carelessly. They pour energy into gossip, into comparison, into endless scrolling, into drama that contributes nothing to their future. And slowly their potential dissolves into distraction. You must become ruthless with your focus. Every moment matters. Every hour matters, because your days become your years, and your years become your life. The person you become tomorrow is being shaped by what you repeatedly do today. Your habits are not small things. They are votes for your future identity. Every disciplined action is a vote for strength. Every excuse is a vote for weakness. Every courageous decision is a vote for growth. Every moment of procrastination is a vote for stagnation. And eventually those votes create the person staring back at you in the mirror. That is why excuses are so dangerous. Excuses sound harmless in the beginning. I'm tired. I'll start next week. I just need more time. But repeated excuses become identity, and identity becomes reality. Excuses are slow poison. They protect your ego while destroying your future. The powerful understand that responsibility is freedom. The moment you stop blaming circumstances, you reclaim control. Blaming the economy will not build your future. Blaming your past will not heal your future. Blaming other people will not elevate your future. Power begins the moment excuses end. And yes, life is unfair sometimes. People will betray you. Opportunities will disappear. Plans will collapse. You will experience rejection, heartbreak, disappointment, failure, and seasons that make no sense. But your power is revealed in your response. Weak minds become victims of circumstance. Powerful minds become students of circumstance. They ask, what is this teaching me? What strength is this developing? How can I use this pain as fuel? Because everything in life can either weaken you or sharpen you depending on your mindset. Two people can walk through the same storm and emerge completely different. One becomes bitter, the other becomes stronger. One surrenders to hopelessness, the other discovers resilience. Your perspective shapes your experience. That is why gratitude is powerful. Not shallow gratitude. Not pretending pain does not exist. Real gratitude, the kind that sees possibility even during struggle. The kind that understands every breath is another chance. The kind that realizes life itself is a gift too many people take for granted. Gratitude shifts your frequency. A grateful mind sees opportunity where others see obstacles. A grateful spirit attracts strength instead of despair, because what you focus on expands. If you constantly focus on what is missing, life feels empty. If you focus on growth, possibility, progress, and purpose, your energy changes completely. Energy matters more than most people realize. You can feel energy before words are even spoken. Some people enter a room carrying doubt, insecurity, and heaviness. Others enter carrying certainty, vision, and presence. And presence cannot be faked. Presence comes from alignment, from living in harmony with your deepest convictions. When a person knows who they are, the world feels it. Not because they are loud, because they are grounded. There is calm power in certainty, and certainty is built through keeping promises to yourself. Every time you follow through despite resistance, you strengthen your identity. Every time you rise early when comfort says sleep, you strengthen your identity. Every time you work on your vision while others waste time, you strengthen your identity. Every time you remain disciplined despite temptation, you strengthen your identity. Confidence is not built by motivational speeches alone. Confidence is built through evidence. Evidence created by action. Your mind trusts you when your actions match your words. But when you constantly betray your own commitments, self-doubt grows stronger. Integrity is not only about honesty with others. It is about honesty with yourself. And many people are exhausted not because life is hard, but because they are constantly fighting against their own potential. Deep down, they know they are capable of more. They know they are settling. They know they are hiding. They know they are shrinking themselves. And the soul suffers when it lives beneath its calling. There is no peace in pretending to be less than you are. You can numb yourself temporarily. Distract yourself temporarily. Entertain yourself temporarily. But eventually truth returns. Eventually the voice inside asks the question that changes everything. Is this who I truly want to become? That question has the power to wake a person up, because there comes a moment when surviving is no longer enough. A moment when comfort becomes unbearable. A moment when your future starts pulling harder than your fear. That is the beginning of transformation. And transformation requires letting go, not only of bad habits, but of outdated identities. You cannot carry your old mindset into your new life. You cannot step into greatness while clinging to beliefs that keep you small. Some people want a new future while emotionally attached to an old version of themselves. But growth demands release. Release of fear, release of limitation, release of the stories you have repeated for years about why you cannot rise. For too long, many people have introduced themselves through their wounds, through their trauma, through their failures, through what went wrong. And while pain is real, pain was never meant to become your permanent identity. You are not your worst moment. You are not your past mistakes. You are not the opinions of people who failed to see your value. You are not the limitations placed upon you by fearful minds. There is something greater within you waiting to emerge, but it cannot emerge while you remain emotionally loyal to the version of yourself that no longer serves your future. At some point, you must decide, will you continue replaying your history, or will you start creating your destiny? Because destiny requires imagination, the ability to see beyond current circumstances, the ability to hold vision during chaos, the ability to emotionally connect with a future that does not yet physically exist. This is where most people fail. They allow external reality to dictate internal belief. If the money is low, they feel powerless. If progress is slow, they feel defeated. If rejection appears, they feel worthless. Their emotional state constantly depends on conditions, but powerful people operate differently. They create internally first. They hold belief before evidence. They maintain vision before validation. And eventually reality catches up to their identity. That is why imagination is sacred. Imagination is not childish fantasy. It is creative power. Everything surrounding humanity right now once existed only in someone's imagination. The cities, the technology, the art, the businesses, the movements, the inventions, every achievement began invisibly. That means the future you desire also begins invisibly, inside thought, inside belief, inside vision. Never underestimate the power of a mind emotionally committed to a goal. A committed mind becomes resourceful, focused, relentless. It starts noticing opportunities invisible to average people. Because once your brain accepts something as important, your awareness changes. You begin seeing doors where others see walls. You begin hearing possibility where others hear impossibility. And slowly your entire reality starts reorganizing around the standards you have accepted internally. This is why the people around you matter so deeply. Energy is contagious. Mindsets are contagious. Ambition is contagious. Fear is contagious too. If you constantly surround yourself with people who doubt everything, complain constantly, avoid growth, and fear risk, eventually their mindset becomes your prison. Environment shapes identity. That is why eagles do not spend their lives seeking approval from chickens. One spirit was born to soar. The other was conditioned to stay close to the ground. You must protect your vision from people committed to limitation. Not everyone deserves access to your dreams. Some people hear possibility and immediately search for reasons it cannot happen. Not because your vision is impossible, because your courage exposes their fear. And fearful people often attack what reminds them of their own untapped potential. Do not allow small minds to define the size of your future. You were not born to fit into boxes created by insecure people. You were born to expand, to evolve, to create, to lead, to become. And becoming requires obsession, not unhealthy obsession with status or applause, obsession with growth, obsession with mastery, obsession with purpose. The highest performers in every field become consumed by their vision. While others are distracted, they are refining. While others are complaining, they are building. While others are waiting, they are preparing. That is the separation. Winners understand time differently. They know every day is either building momentum or destroying it. Every action compounds. Every thought compounds. Every habit compounds. Life is not created in giant dramatic moments. It is created in the invisible accumulation of daily choices. And eventually those choices become a life nobody can ignore, not because of luck, because of alignment between vision and action. That alignment creates force, a force stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than temporary failure. Because when vision and action unite, destiny begins moving through a person like fire through dry wood. And once that fire awakens fully, average living becomes impossible.